77th episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the last week of January 2012. This episode is titled Cloud U. CloudFocus Weekly is sponsored by Arkus, your cloud computing experts. I'm your host, Jason Atwood, and joining me for the 77th time is the co-host and graduate of Cloud U, Justin Elstein. Justin, how you doing?
I was going to say Cloud Me.
I think we've done a Cloud Me.
Have
maybe
we?
Not. I don't know. With Mobile Me, maybe we did a
Cloud Me, Cloud U.
Cloud it up. So we have an agenda today, as we always do. We have a new blog post on the Biggity blog talking about some validation rules, which is a little change in our blog. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but that's pretty much a go read. And then we're going to really talk about something that was happening during our podcast last week. While we were podcasting, I think it was just finishing up, which was Apple's educational announcement, which I watched this morning. I've been trying to watch it all week, but I've been busy. For all you clients out listening, then you know that's a good thing. And I was so I watched it this morning in the gym on the iPad, which I love watching the announcements. And so I think we should talk about that because it has a lot of stuff in there that I think could be interesting, especially in the cloud computing space, and Apple's sort of domination in a lot of these things. And then we have an article called "How Salesforce Chatter Ate the Social Network." We'll talk about that.
Okay.
And maybe we'll bring some personal annotations of Chatter into our life, and because we are certainly big Chatter users, and of course we talk to our clients a lot and train them on Chatter a lot. So let's get into it. First up, the blog post on the blog entitled "Quick and Easy Salesforce Validation Rules."
Yep.
Can't really say anything more about it.
Enough said.
So it's one of our first blog posts. It's a little bit of a change this year. You'll see in our blog we're going to be trying to bring out more solution-based blogs, which are kind of things that you can see and go into, like like validation rules and talking about that.
Tips and tricks for the admin.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Like some ideas of how you can, in this case, validate dirty data or get your hands around it, or prevent users from entering things that you don't want them to enter. We thought we'd give you 2 or 3 examples of some useful ones that you can take them kind of as templates and apply them to your own use cases.
Yep. So that's up there on the blog. That's blog.arkusinc.com. It's called Quick and Easy Salesforce Validation Rules. There's a couple of them in there. And leave your comments and discuss at the end. So let us know if you like them or not. And we'll see you there. That's really it. I'm not going to read through the validation rule.
You don't want to read the and or if
so
statements?
If open parens and open parens contains and open parens text.
There you go.
Yeah, no, that's not
read
very
through
exciting.
the functions.
Yeah, no.
Get us in there. That third one I really like.
The 15 minutes of time?
15 minutes at a time.
Oh, we use that one.
That's one in our org. We use that one.
What he didn't put in was the error that we put in. We of course use. So now we got to get into it. There's a validation rule that we tell you how to use, which is to limit people from putting in 15 minutes of time. Some people make the mistake when putting in, if they're putting in a time entry, they'll put 0.15, meaning 15 minutes, but really that's not 15 minutes, that's whatever that is.
9 minutes.
That's 9 minutes. So we put in a validation rule in our org to basically stop people from doing that, because we do all our time tracking in Salesforce. And but we put a funny little error on it that we're not going to repeat, but it's a funny error that tells you you've made a mistake. And
it's an easy mistake to make when you want to enter 15 minutes of time.
Yeah,
you're in
0.15.
0.15, but that's so not
or
right.
Or 75 or 45 minutes of time.
Right.
0.45.
Right. Not correct.
0.30 doesn't work either.
Again, not correct.
Yeah. So it's a little bit of. So that's a good one. That's actually fun. Using validation rules, I've been building a couple lately. And it's always fun to come up with what to tell the person what to do. Anyway. All right, so we'll move on to the big announcement last week. So Apple put together one of their, they're not really keynotes. I guess they're just special announcements. They do this now 2 or 3 times a year. This time they did it in New York's Guggenheim Museum, which I thought was an interesting take. They usually do it in their place, or they do it in like a big center. So it was interesting doing Guggenheim Museum. I mean, it was about education, so maybe it was a way of bringing people, bringing sort of the educational element into it. And they announced a bunch of things.
Okay.
The big start of them was Ibooks 2. Ibooks 2, new application, Ibooks, but has new functionality in it. It has the ability to have more interactivity to it. So videos, swiping of pictures. And they showed a textbook, which was sort of the second announcement, which was that they are doing interactive textbooks. And they're going to sell textbooks in a new category in the iTunes bookstore called textbooks, and they're going to sell them for up to $14. And so they spend.
That's a great price.
That's
for
a great price.
College textbook, if you
or
think
high
about
school
it.
or any.
Well, high school textbooks, well, for me, were just given to me, and
Right.
then I had to give them back.
Right.
But and I think that's kind of how it works. But well, maybe not. But in college, you had to buy your textbooks, and sometimes they were like $100. And in my case, I never even opened them.
Right.
So it was like, wow, I just spent $100 and I didn't even touch this book, and then I sell it back at the end of the year for like $20.
Yeah,
It's
that was
like,
always
all
the
right,
big scam.
That was a net loss.
That
It
was
was about $80.
That was the big scam in college when I was in college 17,000 years ago, which was you'd ask your parents for this amount of money or whatever, you'd gain it or whatever, and you'd get this money to buy all these textbooks, and you'd usually pad it like, I need like $17 million. And of course, most of that you would want. So you'd go in, and then you'd find friends who had the textbook, so you'd share it, right? Then B, at the end, you sell them back, or you buy the used version, and then you sell it back. And if you bought the used version for like 60, you could sell it back for like 50. Like, it didn't decrease that much because it was already pre-used. Anyway, so let's go on to... So what was interesting was, and I watched the whole demo. Did you actually watch the thing or no?
No, I didn't. But
Okay.
just to... You mentioned on the iBooks too, the whole interactivity.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite books that I have read on my iPad was Gary Vaynerchuk's, not this most recent one, the one before that. What was it called?
Crush It.
Crush It. I was
Yep.
going to say Smash It, but Crush It.
It was Crush It.
And I didn't actually buy the book in iBooks or on the Kindle or anything like that. I bought the Vook. The VOOK, the Vook.
It was ridiculous.
It was an app.
Yeah.
So, and I loved it because it had more. It was an application, so it had a lot of interactivity.
Right.
It had little video snippets of Gary, like if you've seen him at Dreamforce or anywhere else, or if you've watched his video podcasts.
Vaynerchuk.
He's just extremely entertaining,
Yes.
and his voice and his enthusiasm is infectious,
Yes.
and it gets you. You watch the little clip of him before you read the chapter, and then you've got his voice in your head, and
Right.
then you're reading the chapter in his voice, and it just works. So, like, I don't really love to read. As a matter of fact, I don't really like to read that much at all. I read when I have to read. I don't read for enjoyment. But
At least 3 times a year.
I read 180-page release notes from Salesforce.
3 times
so
a
I
year.
read about 500 pages a year, which,
Right.
whatever, good or bad.
Take that. My
Take
wife
that,
reads that
right?
in about a day. But
Right.
okay.
Well, she's obviously better than I am.
Yep.
So, but having that interactivity makes me more liable to purchase a book, because
Yeah.
I would love to have little like author snippets or like interactive charts or pictures or graphs, or even the ability to just read me this chapter or something like
They
that.
did not have the read me this chapter, but they did have cool things. So they did have charts, graphs, pictures, swiping, going in and out, bringing a picture wide,
pinch zoom
videos.
stuff.
They had intro videos, which I thought was
Yeah,
great. So
love
when you
that.
start up the book, it starts with a video,
Perfect.
right? That was great. Then they brought in quizzes. So like
Oh.
little exams, like not exams,
So
but
this
like
is for textbooks.
for textbooks. But
But-
then they have interactive elements where you could click on things and it would change, like doing little, not like a game, but like seeing different parts or spinning a 3D model around. I mean, it was really well done. I was sad to be an adult who was no longer in school. I'd love to be a kid in like 10th grade, like 9th grade right now, knowing that this is going to come in the next couple of years and that this would be my experience for books.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah,
Like you
because
get an iPad when you go to college. And
well, that's the other thing, is that they really talked about, and they did a lot about the books, what books are good at and what books are bad at. They went, books are not very portable, they're huge and bulky, they're not very durable, and they went down this list, and at the end they said they have great content, and then they said, well, here's the iPad. Like, the iPad can do all this stuff.
Books are good for they are good for certain things. I mean, the actual physical book, like there's still something about a physical book that you can like doodle on, or
that's the thing. For someone who doesn't read, it's interesting that you care about the physical book.
I know it's weird. Like
but you don't read.
But
books.
I read magazines, and I'd much prefer having the actual magazine in my hand than like I've seen People magazine, and I've seen the People magazine app on the iPad or in the magazine store or whatever, and I'd rather have the magazine.
Yeah,
I don't know why I'm still.
Yeah, you're
although any book I've read in the last 2 years has been digital. It has not been an actual book.
They showed a couple of the features, just for those who haven't watched it, that were really cool. One was note taking. So they've had this for a while in Kindle and in the iBook, where you can select stuff, you can then highlight it. They had different colors now, so you can pick different colors. Then you could put in notes on that highlighted text. Obviously, looking up words, dictionary, jumping to back and forth the glossary, all those great features. But when you took a note, then there was a view of the book. You go into this view of the book, it was called Note Card. And it took all the times that you hit a note and all the glossary items and turned them into note cards that you could study off of. So then you could flip through these note cards and see one side was the thing you picked, and then the other side was the note or the glossary item, and then what the description was. So it literally like built you your study materials while you read the book.
Well, Apple's always been in the education game.
Yep.
When I was in elementary school, we had apples in the computer lab, and then I think later on, well, my school's kind of regressed as I went. Like my elementary school,
so college you had like metal tablets, or
well, my elementary school, I remember having a computer in my classroom. Junior high school, I didn't, but we had, instead of apples, we had a Mac lab.
Yep.
And then high school, we had like these old, just the worst computers ever. Like we were writing BASIC. Like that was computer class, was write BASIC.
But what
BASIC.
That BASIC isn't the computer. BASIC is the language.
Yeah, it was on this like PC that didn't have. It was just It had nothing on it. It was like command line write a basic program that would make like a turtle go up and down or something.
Right.
Which was really just a great use of time in high school. But they've always, I mean, weren't they the ones with Power Schools, right? Isn't that Apple?
It's still on, I think it's Power School. It's their online
the student information system. So they've always sort of been in that education game. I wonder, I didn't see any of this, quite the textbook stuff. So you mentioned quizzes. So it's like a self-quiz. I wonder if there's a way to like, can it talk back to some master database, if you will, that like the teacher could administer the quiz via the book and then get the results somehow?
Great minds think alike, because I was immediately thinking, boy, wouldn't that be cool? We're all on these iPads. We're all doing something in class. I, as a teacher, could now say, open up your quiz app.
Yeah, push the app out to the app.
And then I'd want to do a couple things. I'd want it to make sure that it would basically, I'd want like, if I were the teacher, I'd want to see a dashboard of everybody who had the app open. And as soon as you close the app, it then blinked or something, right? So I could see Justin has the app open. Because then I was thinking like attention stuff, like, I'm going to go play Angry Birds while in the middle of this quiz, or go look up the answer. But on an iPad, it's singular view, so that's actually kind of neat. So I was thinking, wow, you could have it talking in real time to something that's saying, I'm open, I'm open, I'm open, meaning the person is actually taking it, or writing in the answer and then hitting submit and then having it go back for the person to see. It wasn't in there, but there's a market there. So for all you app developers, go out there, build a real-time awareness iQuiz.
Go do it.
Yeah,
now.
It's going to be great.
Make it.
So the last thing, so that was iBooks 2. The interactivity, the textbooks was great. They've got a lot of partners in on it. Good prices. They're going to be able to push upgrades to the books.
That's good.
Right?
Version 1, version 2, version 3, or volumes, whatever.
So the other piece was really their revamping of iTunes. Now, iTunes U has been around for a long time, about 4 years.
Yep.
And it's always included basically lectures and stuff. And I think it had PDFs because I've done a couple of them.
They're very much just like audio podcasts,
right?
Sometimes
video,
but very much just like a podcast series.
So they've changed them now, and they've basically created them into online courses. Now, obviously, online course taking is becoming huge, and I immediately thought of Salesforce. I immediately thought of, wow, this would be a better way to learn, all that stuff and take all those, like release notes and stuff. Wouldn't it be cool? You could have more pictures and see stuff. Anyway, so the real change is that now you have a syllabus. Now, during the syllabus, it can show you all the materials. The syllabus can link to the books and to the chapters, and it has like little check marks, so you can go down and say the homework can be pushed to it. The homework can be, read the third chapter of this book, and then you click on it, and it opens up the book in Ibooks to the chapter. Then you can go back, click it off. They had, notes, the syllabus. They had notes about the teacher, but it basically became they built this sort of architecture around all those little pieces, and they now have a bunch of, like, including Duke University publishing
so many in there. You go into that app, and I'm just skipping right to it. I mean, this was my pick of the week.
Well, I was not going to talk about it.
Well, we're talking about
the app. No, I was talking about the iTunes U. See?
Oh, well, I just blew it.
Yeah.
Well, that's my pick of the week. But you go in there, and it has...
So your pick of the week is what? Your CloudFocus App Pick of the week?
Is the iTunes U app on the iPhone.
Okay.
And you can essentially go in there and just browse hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of courses and catalogs from universities across the globe.
Yeah.
Like I have on my iTunes U course on innovation from Cambridge University.
Yeah.
I mean, that is like, wow, okay, Cambridge.
That's
a good school. I think I'll take innovation.
Yeah, I think it is stunning, and especially for... I honestly looked at it and I thought, and I was in the gym doing this, gymming away, and I thought, I need to start to take courses. I need to take a course a year or twice a year. Take one of these courses. And I saw online ethics, and I went, that's cool. I actually took business ethics in college.
I took ethics in college too.
Business
Not
ethics?
business ethics, just
business
ethics.
You know what business ethics are?
There are
no. It was no course. It wasn't a course.
It wasn't a course.
You walked in, and the ethics are: should you sit in a course for the entire time and learn absolutely nothing and claim it as a credit, or should you go to the administrator and tell them that this course is an entire sham? That's the ethics question.
That's the ethics question. That's it. Mine was more. It was in the philosophy major track. It wasn't in the business.
You're a philosopher?
No, it just so happened I needed some elective, and it looked like an interesting course, and it was actually. It was actually one of the more interesting, thought-provoking courses that I ever took in college.
Right. Well, ethics. That's the thing is I'm now thinking of the ones that I took that I really loved, and could I take ones that were, could I repeat them or take them again or take something like them, or like I took Tibetan art. And it was fascinating. It was just because Tibetan art is all about it's all about religion. It's not really about art. It's about religious art. And you're learning about these gods and what they think, and then you see pictures that are being Tibetan pictures. But
I took pre-colonial African history.
There you go. Another good one.
I would love to have taken that on a phone as opposed to sitting in that lecture hall.
Yes.
That's the other thing. It's a little more self-paced. So you sort of do it at your own pace,
Although going to a class and sitting there, it keeps your focus. As a productivity guy, and I talk a lot about productivity, like that's always been my problem with the iPad and the iPhone for reading. Is I'm sitting, especially now with notifications.
Well, you're sitting there with a incredible game device. Right. Like you could just open up Madden and play like football, or check your email in the middle of reading a book,
or see someone go and Scrabble,
get an app mention or something.
You
like
get an
that.
alert on Twitter. You get an alert from Facebook. Your friend uploaded a picture of you. It's like it's way too. I would like to see them take notifications and build into certain apps, like they have a notification center, and say in the notification center, take apps that don't allow notifications to come up in.
Like I'm reading a book, don't notify me. I don't want it. I don't care.
Right. Because I'll see it when I get out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice that it doesn't take over the whole screen now, but it still goes, ooh, someone tweeted me. And I go, ooh, I want to go up there and do stuff now.
It does that little flip over.
Yeah. So, anyway, so that was your pick.
That was my pick. So now that that's out of the way,
yeah, I would say the one thing we haven't discussed, which is not my pick of the week because I'm not as lame just to pick something out of the.
I picked it way before you put this thing together.
Which is they also announced Ibook Author, which is the ability to build iBooks. Very cool. Basically, looks like a combination of Keynote and iWork in Pages. No, in Pages. You drag and drop stuff. You make beautiful things, and then you can publish them. And it's free, and it basically allows anybody to publish iBooks.
Oh, that's pretty neat.
So that's when I thought, ooh, release notes. Like, give it to me because the way that the iBook and Kindle render PDFs, it's not as nice or as fluid as an iBook. So
Arkus should publish a book just to do it.
I actually thought of one. I thought, why don't we? Here's self-brag. I thought, why don't we publish the notes, the release notes, or the user guide for Compliance for Chatter
we could do
as
that.
an iBook. And I was going to have one of the aforementioned people in our company do that just to test it.
Yeah, we should do that.
Yeah, very good. You're braining like 6 days behind me. All right. But anyway, free, which really I think, again, they like to create tools that allow things to come, create the content for free. And this really brings us to the point which I kind of wanted to get to, which is it seems like a lot for Apple to be investing in. And part of me, just because I'm, growing old and cranky, I was like,
and gray.
Not gray. What does bald is beautiful, but gray, no gray. What does Apple get out of this? And is this one of these Apple, is this? I know Apple sells hardware, and I know if they can create iBooks and VBooks and iTunes U and whatever that people use, that only benefits them. They sell more hardware, that's great. If they thought that every kid in the world had an iPad in their pocket, that'd be great. So it kind of led me down this is this altruistic? No, they're a company, they want to make money. But it's one of those things. It's like, it seems like a really... It seems in a time when our educational system is struggling, we've talked about Waiting for Superman, the movie. We've talked about, our education. He actually started the whole presentation, which is a strange one. He started with like the state of the U.S. education, and he said, here's where we rank in reading, math, and science, and it's like 23, 31, and 15 across the world. Whereas those
aren't exact numbers.
Well, it was something like that.
Something like
it was 23, 31, and 17.
It was right around there.
It wasn't 1, 2, and 4. No. It was like below 10 on every single one.
Not in the top 5.
Which is scary, and they were saying, what have we done to educate? What are we doing better? And this is one of these. Is this the way of the future of education? I think the concepts of electronic books, okay, great. That's sort of been around. Interactive textbooks, great. More computers in the classroom to help with education, making it more engaging, great. I think more importantly is taking education and making it ubiquitous, making the content from Duke University available to anybody on the planet who can afford an iProduct.
Well, an iProduct is much more affordable than Duke University.
Yes. So I think that is something that is a really interesting concept, and I'm excited to see them go for it. If you haven't seen the video, go watch the video because it is...
Is it the 7-minute video?
No,
it's an hour-long deal. I'm going to have to watch that.
You should. It's just like their other ones. Of course, Steve is missed.
I can get it on my inside of iTunes, I imagine.
Yes, you can. You can subscribe to the pod. They have a podcast for their special announcements, which I subscribe to, and then they come down the next day.
Excellent.
Yes. All right. And then the last thing, while we kick off our... I guess we haven't really discussed a lot of Salesforce stuff, but our Salesforce segment of the week is an article on ReadWriteWeb called How Salesforce Chatter Ate the Social Network. And I've actually read this. I know you don't read.
I have not read this. I didn't see it.
Yeah. I tweeted this.
It's long.
I think they tweeted it. Well, here's the thing. Don't read it. It's not worth it.
I won't read it because it just
it's
looks like a fluff piece.
It is a fluff piece. And I kind of wanted it to be more of talking about Chatter. And the first thing it brought to my mind is Salesforce Chatter a social network? Your thoughts?
Is Salesforce Chatter a social network?
Yeah.
Internally, yeah, it is.
I actually think it's not. I don't think it even follows the rules of a social network. A social network needs to be open. It's not open.
Not true. Facebook's not open.
It is.
Not really.
It's free. Log in. Anybody can log in the world.
Oh, no. I said an internal social network.
That's not a social network. A social network is a big thing that everybody in the world can get into. You can't. Everybody in the world can't get into our Chatter org and.
Well, they could if we invited them.
No, couldn't. Not everybody in the world.
Could.
Not everybody in the world.
Yeah, they'd let us. They'd let them in.
For Arkus.
They'd let them in.
All 7 billion.
If IBM was to start using Chatter, for example, I don't know why they would, but maybe IBM would, and they'd have their 300 some odd thousand employees.
Still not a social network.
They would let them invite as many people as they wanted.
That's an internal network. That's not a social network.
It's an internal social network.
Nah, that's like a private cloud.
Semantics.
Private cloud.
Semantics.
What's this?
Semantics.
Is it a fist?
This was from 30 Rock last night when Liz Lemon held up her hand. Semantics.
Oh, okay.
It's semantics.
No, it's a private cloud.
It's not a private cloud.
It's a private cloud.
It's not.
Internal social network.
It's a private social network.
Private social network. Hosted on your private social open
cloud.
cloud.
It's not hosted on your private cloud.
Private social open cloud.
No.
All right.
It is a social network for your company.
No.
Yeah,
no,
it is.
Internal collaboration
So what is
tool.
it then?
Internal collaboration tool. Great.
That follows the model of a social network?
That takes some of the concept of a social network and works it into your internal system. Absolutely. Done.
So why? And you asked me this question as a like it's kind of loaded because it seemed like you wanted me to say one thing so that you could just answer in another way.
Well, that's why I thought the article was kind of stupid, because how Salesforce Chatter ate the social network.
Well, it didn't eat anything.
Well, it can't eat, and it literally is ate the social network, right? That's the real title.
Yeah, the real title is How Salesforce Chatter Connect Ate the Social
That's
Network.
Even worse. There is no Salesforce Chatter Connect. What is Salesforce Chatter Connect?
That is the product that allows Chatter to, I think that's what they called the SharePoint connector. So that you can actually use, like, I think the REST API to embed Chatter inside of other applications.
Is that when you take it and you flip it?
You flip it and bump it.
You flip it and then you bump it? All right.
And then you get it into other things. But, this kind of sparked in my mind, just reading how this Chatter ate the social network, a conversation that I was having with one of our clients earlier this week, a large client of ours, that I'll
not
leave.
in physical stature.
No,
just want to make sure. Just in case that person's listening.
They're an enterprise. They're a large enterprise. Okay. They have a lot of employees and a lot of Salesforce licenses.
Yes.
And they were a Yammer shop,
mm-hmm.
but they were also a Salesforce shop.
Mm-hmm.
And they had two different factions of, I call them factions, but essentially two different Salesforce orgs in their company within the enterprise.
The Jedi and the... No, sorry. Go ahead.
The Evil Empire. And they essentially were, they were using Yammer very effectively to communicate and collaborate.
For how long is, I guess, mine?
I don't know how long they were using Yammer. I think Yammer's been around since 2007, so no longer than that.
That's a long time.
But
That's
maybe
5 years.
since 08, 09, something like that. I don't know how long. But it was adopted.
Yeah.
It was being used throughout the enterprise to communicate and collaborate in a social way. And Salesforce was obviously in there, and they said, well, we got to make you a Chatter shop because you guys are already using Salesforce, and you may as well just start using Chatter. It's there. You turn it on. So they got a bunch of Chatter Plus licenses, and a lot of them, more than 1,000,
right?
Less than 100,000, but a lot.
Okay.
And quite candidly, we were told this week that since they rolled out Chatter, the adoption of that style of communication, the fall off from Yammer to Chatter has been about 40% lower.
You know what?
The adoption of it is 40% less.
But that doesn't surprise me at all. If I take any tool in any organization, and I've worked in some big organizations, as have you, same organization.
This is true.
You take any tool that's being used actively and you replace it with another tool, no matter how good or bad that tool is, from one tool to the next tool, you're going to get a huge drop off.
I will argue you're incorrect.
I have never seen a tool take off on first blend.
Let me give you an example.
Sure, go ahead.
When we were at that large company that shall remain nameless.
Shall remain nameless.
When
it goes out of business, can we talk about it?
Isn't it out of business?
Oh,
no, I guess not.
10-to-1 reverse stock split save you.
Clue number 1. And you've still lost money. But we used Instant Messenger, yeah? Remember? Same time from IBM?
Yeah.
Remember that?
I'm loving how you're going to turn this into a success story for switching thing, because it actually went the exact opposite every single time we switched.
No. So we had same time for instant messenger.
No, we didn't.
We did.
Before
we had
same time.
Forget. We had same time.
No. But I want to. You're only telling half the story.
I'm not telling half the story
because my story actually proves the point.
No.
Go ahead.
You can't count AIM.
Yes, you can.
Fine. We had AIM.
Yes.
And then they said you can't use AIM. It's on AOL, and you can talk to people outside world.
Right.
You're going to use same time to communicate with each other internally. This is a business tool to use to talk to each other.
Yes. Not
your best friend who's working somewhere else and sending files and blah blah blah.
Right.
No, this is I'm talking same time.
Yep.
To Microsoft Messenger.
Yes.
Right. There was no difference in adoption one way to the next.
Oh my god, it every time, and I'm going to bring in AIM, because at AIM, everybody...
That's because it was AIM.
Well, but this is the point. It was well adopted because it was older, everybody knew about it, everybody had already had those conversations.
No, the reason why AIM was more well adopted was because you can have a conversation with someone outside of the company. You could talk to your wife. You could talk to your best friend. You could talk to your girlfriend. You could talk to your best friend. You could talk to whomever.
That's true.
Your college roommate. Because they want to get rid of that. So they said, all right, now you're going to use this tool.
But you're saying, okay, I'll take AIM out.
Because what I'm saying is the
when we went from same time to Messenger, the drop-off was tremendous.
It wasn't.
It was tremendous.
It was not. I know it wasn't.
The tool was horrible.
It wasn't. You double-clicked on a person's name, you typed in something, you hit enter, and it went.
Oh my god. It was the drop-off was huge. There's tons of people who were on same time who never went on to Messenger.
But no, that was... It wasn't that they were on same time and then they weren't on Messenger. It was literally they rolled it out so that they just didn't have the tool. There's a difference. If it was 10,000 people on same time and we're going to give those 10,000 people Messenger or whatever the heck it was called, that'd be one story. But they didn't do that. They rolled it out fractured, and this was part of this company's problem, was they'd have half people on one thing and half the people on the other, and they couldn't talk to each other.
But you don't know the actual stats of the adoption, so you can't say the story was right.
Trust me. You had the same amount of people using one thing as the adoption of instant messenger. That type of communication didn't go down just because we changed the tool. It didn't happen.
Well, all right.
Just because you changed the tool did not mean
For your point, I would say if you change people from Lotus Notes to Microsoft Outlook, you're right. The adoption of email isn't going to go down.
That's right.
That is correct. But people being on a system and using it from the difference between IM and email and a social network, an internal private cloud social network, as I'm now renamed this, is that in email and IM, you're logged in, you talk to your 5 people, whatever. In social networks, you're creating groups and people and following objects and following other people and seeing their profile. My guess is, and I will bet $1 to a donut, or both, that they didn't take everybody I followed in Yammer and move them over. So when I logged into Chatter, everybody I followed in Yammer was still the exact same people I followed in Chatter.
Well,
my guess is,
in all honesty, I don't even know enough about how Yammer works to even know that I have to follow people.
But that's the whole point. Then it's a moot point, because you can't take an entire different paradigm.
Well, that's part of where I was going until you
sidetrack
cut me off.
Yeah,
was to say that I don't know if Chatter as a standalone tool to replace something like Yammer has what it takes at the very moment.
I agree.
Because that whole following thing and that whole just the following thing alone is enough to just say, wow, this is I don't see what I think I should be able to see. And then I'm following you, but this person is a Chatter Plus user, so they only really see people, and then this person's writing Chatter on an opportunity, and but I'm following that person, they wrote it, why don't I see it? That whole thing gets very confusing, and I feel like with something like Yammer, that confusion of it, the plus of Salesforce being so embedded and integrated into their own system gets washed out by...
I mean, Chatter being integrated, okay.
Right. Chatter, the plus of Chatter being integrated into Salesforce gets sort of washed away by if you have 10,000 users who aren't Salesforce.com users,
right,
they sort of lose out on all the things that make Chatter what it's really good at, which is collaborating around
stuff,
data.
Right. I with that I totally agree. But I think to take an example and say we lost 40% adoption because we moved a ton of people off of one thing and put them on another. Right, but you have to measure apples and apples to say, okay, in adoption, let's look at a period of time. What was the adoption when you moved that first 10,000 people onto Yammer in the first day, like the first month? What was the adoption? And then what was it 12 months later? And 6, I mean, any tool, and you will agree with this, I know you will, any tool you roll out to an organization is going to have different, is going to get slowly adopted. It's just, even the first email client, like, send me an email. Send you a what? Like, that's the way people were. And, new tools. We roll Salesforce all the time, and we fight with people about Outlook or about usage and, adoption. It takes a while. I personally have still on a path of Chatter adoption. I'm still getting to the point of I'm figuring out what I should be following, what I shouldn't be following. What's the difference? Why do I follow? If I follow somebody, do I really need to follow these other objects? Mentioning people. Tags I've sort of gotten down, although I don't use them in the way that they're meant to be used. I almost never click on a tag. I use them as a way to topic things, but I never click on a
tag?
A topic.
Oh, a topic.
Hashtag in
right.
Twitter land. But I never click on one in our org to go see other content like it. Never. I do them. I use them because A, they're funny. And
I have
B,
favorites.
But I never click. I have favorites too. I never look at them or go to see if someone else has posted about that same topic.
I feel like soon enough that's going to change.
Yeah, maybe. Well, with some of the stuff we know is coming out.
Yeah, I feel like topics are going to get a little better.
Anyway, so let's get to our CloudFocus App Pick of the Week. Yours was...
I was just going to say, just to finish that off, the whole Chatter thing. I, too, have been sort of learning myself, like, what should I follow, what should I not? And I found, for me, and some tips for everyone else out there, I don't follow people. I follow people, users in the org. I don't follow leads or contacts,
right.
Records or accounts. I follow opportunities.
Yep.
Because I find that is useful.
Yep.
Things that have like statuses that change, I follow.
Things that when the status changes, it's important to know that its status changes is important. But on an account, like if someone changes the account industry from engineering to finance, who cares?
And if you have a question about the account that you need my input on, you just mention me, and then
I could see in a bigger organization where there might be 5 or 6 people who are responsible for that account. They all would be following it.
Sure, why
and
not?
Then if someone mentioned it on their account, here's where I think the mentioning doesn't go very far. When you want to include a group of people, you don't want to mention 7 people.
No.
Hey, Justin, Joe, Frank, Bob, Sally, Joe. No, you wouldn't do that. So I think bigger than you follow your key accounts.
Wouldn't it be nice to mention a group? Like if you had a group, right, called, let's just play this out. Sorry, we're going down a little hole here.
Rat hole, chatter hole.
Let's say you had a group. We'll use the group that they always use, the competitive intelligence group. Okay.
Yeah.
And you have an account, and you're working against a specific competitor. Mm-hmm. I'd love to mention that group and just bring those people that are in that group into the conversation, or bring that chatter message into that group. Well, vice versa.
Lucky enough, in Spring 12, you'll be able to re-chatter something and then re-chatter it to the group. So I'll be looking.
I guess that will take it,
and I'll say, hey, let me re-chatter it to the group.
But then the comments get onto that post, not the original one. The comments don't sync.
Yeah, right. It goes over to that group, but then you can involve that group.
Yeah, that's a way to involve them.
Yeah,
I wouldn't. I prefer not to duplicate the post, but I guess that's whatever. That's how it works. You retweet, you reshare.
Yep.
You do those things.
You do these things.
All right, what's your pick? I already made mine.
All right, my pick. Your pick was iTunes U.
Do it.
My pick is Ibooks 2.
All right,
no, just
done.
kidding.
Go pick up an iPhone.
So I will pick up. I'm gonna actually pick a little one that I just stumbled across that I thought, you know what, it's kind of fun. It's one of those things. I used to have a really good program that did this.
It's a cool name.
It is. So there's occasion where you have there's a couple of different scenarios where you want to do this. One is you have a website and you want to make a backup of all the content of the website, right? You just want to take a copy of it. Mm-hmm. Maybe you want to take it offline, you want to take it with you so you can read it or whatever, and you want to basically pull down. That's your own website. Then there's, hey, I want to take down someone else's website and take all their content so I can process it or do something bad with it. Yeah, you can do that too. Grab all the URLs, the images, everything. And there's been lots of programs that do this. I used to use one called something Spider or something. I mean, it's literally like a 10-year-old product. And I used to do it very well. And I went looking for one because a client of ours was looking to move a website and needed the content. And I said, all right, well, I can grab you the content. So I found this app. It's an OS X app, so it's a Mac app. It's in the Mac App Store. It is free, and it is called SiteSucker. And it does exactly what you think it does.
It's a perfect name.
Yep.
SiteSucker.
It takes...
their logo's fantastic, too.
It's a big vacuum. It basically takes down an entire site. You just give it the URL and say how far you want to go, how deep you want to go, how many levels.
All the way.
Yeah, and you just say go for it, and it just starts pulling down everything, putting it into a folder.
The HTML, the CSS,
everything.
Attach the graphics, everything.
Everything.
That's cool.
It's pretty cool. And then makes it...
Does it put it into a nice structured file, too?
In folders.
In folders.
Yeah, it does a really good job.
That's pretty neat. I wonder if something like SiteSucker, because, just to bring this to Salesforce for a moment, a lot of the demos that we saw of the new, the site builder? What's that called? Siteforce? Thank you.
That way too expensive product.
That thing. Well, one of the cool things about it was you could just upload assets, right? Mm-hmm. So what if you have your huge, enormous website, right? And you just suck it down into a repository and then feed it right up into Siteforce. I wonder if that would work.
So I tried it on our website, and just to see what would happen.
To bring Arkus Inc. down?
Yeah.
What did it do? Did it fail?
No, it just started going. It has a couple things with, I think, content management systems kind of get it a little freaked out because it couldn't figure out, since images were linked wherever they were, it kind of thought that images like the logo or something, it thought they were everywhere, so it put them in every folder. It kind of threw them again.
Yeah, why not?
But it was going, and when I saw it going, it had downloaded 1,500 files, and it had another 4,000 to go, and that number kept going up. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to keep doing this. But it was pretty cool. It worked. It did exactly what again, free. It has nice little settings. Whatever. Free.
I want to try and suck down a site and pump it up into Siteforce.
Well, you know what? It's the weekend. You guys can have a good...
I don't have a Siteforce instance to play with.
Yeah, you don't get a partner license onto it?
Man, maybe. Not right now.
Oh, okay.
Maybe when it goes GA.
All right. So that's the CloudFocus App Pick of the Week and the CloudFocus for this week. I was going to say CloudForce. Remember to go to the blog.arkusinc.com. You'll see all of our podcasts as well as all of our blog posts, about one a week. For both, and you can read up there. Remember to discuss things and discuss. You can click on the title, go in there, and you can use discuss. You can log in with all your social profiles to do that. That's great. You follow us at Arkus Inc., Jason M. Atwood, and Just Edelstein. We're also on Clout now.
We are on Clout.
Because my Clout score is better
Give
than
me
your
a plus
Clout
K,
score.
would you?
I have.
Plus K me. No, not you. The you that are listening.
Oh, the you that are listening.
Yeah.
Oh, I know some of them already have
plus K me. Give me some plus.
Well, we know people
Give
are
me
going
to
be looking. We're on Facebook.com, so Facebook.com/Arkus Inc. ARKUSINC.
We're everywhere.
And we're on
much.
iTunes. We're not in iTunes U, but we're on regular iTunes under the podcast. Search for CloudFocus Weekly. Subscribe, and then whenever we publish it, it'll come right down to you. Lickety split. So that's it for this week of CloudFocus Weekly. See you next week. And until then, as I actually look outside and say, enjoy those cloudy days.